We have a big problem. Planet Earth is in lockdown and nobody knows when it's really going to end. So the whole world needs to learn to work from home effectively. The answer is in the crossover point between social media, business productivity tools, and video games. And nobody is owning that space yet. The need is here, the demand will be global, the next big gold rush is about to begin. Welcome to Haydn's Big Ideas. So that was the short version. Now let me give you the longer version. My name's Haydn Rushworth. I am an analyst. I am a research and communications officer. I work for the National Assembly for Wales. It's not really who I am. That's a part of who I am. I'm also a filmmaker. I'm a screenwriter. I'm a director. I'm a student of human behaviour and a student of national and global prosperity and the things that bring nations peace and prosperity. My job, when I'm doing it well, is to find answers and solutions to the world's biggest problems. Now, I thought since we're in lockdown, I'd start sharing some of these because it's all in my head, and my wife, bless her heart, is a little bit tired of listening to me endlessly going on about this stuff. So I wanted to get all this stuff out. So this is episode 1, and I wanted to talk about something that I think is relevant to everybody right now, which is to do with working from home. Now, we're in lockdown. We don't know when that's going to end. Even when it does end, we don't know how long it will take before things will get back to normal. So, working from home, at the very least, even if we're not in lockdown, there's going to be some form of social distancing that will probably continue for some time, and there is going to be an increasing need for us to learn how to cope in a kind of semi-state of lockdown. Anyway, working from home, for those of us who are trying to do it, if you have a young family or, well, if you have a TV in the corner of the room, there are all kinds of distractions and all kinds of reasons why it's not very effective. It can be, but at the same time, it can be a really, really difficult thing learning how to work effectively from home. If your job really relies on teamwork, either you have a team that work for you or you are part of a team, this is where working from home becomes incredibly difficult and particularly challenging, because you miss that there's one thing. Even though we've got video calling, sure, you can schedule meetings, and yes, you can email people, and yes, you've got productivity tools that you can kind of see who's doing what. There's something missing from all of that, which is the natural, organic, human, social connection that we all have. You miss out on what they call the coffee machine conversations. You miss out on the bright ideas that spring up out of nowhere when a couple of your team or more are just chatting about ridiculous ideas that suddenly turn out to be strangely enticing and plausible. You can have some brilliant ideas that come out of an environment where great members of your team are just in the same environment together. I mean, after all, if you have recruited a good team, or if you are part of a good team, the reason everybody was recruited is because they have something to offer. And so there's a real challenge in that when we work from home, you cut off an awful lot of the organic, natural fluidity of ideas emerging just from people bouncing around ideas. There is a new piece of software that is waiting to be created. The next big thing, the Facebook of the 2020s. And it sits in the space between social media, if you were to draw a Venn diagram, with social media in one bubble, and with business productivity tools in another bubble, and video games in another one. There's a crossover point between them, and nobody is currently occupying successfully that space. Nobody's owning it. That space is currently vacant, and that is where the answer to all of our problems lays. Well, I'd say many of them, but an extraordinary number of our problems. So let me tell you what I have in mind, because I would love for somebody to develop the next big thing, and it's sitting in that vacant space in the middle that nobody's occupying. So let me describe to you this virtual world. And it's basically, if you were to imagine a video game that would be the kind of virtual world like Grand Theft Auto or like Fortnite or even Minecraft or anything that kind of puts you in that kind of virtual world setting. But instead of shooting people, killing people, slaying monsters, digging for minerals in the ground and stealing cars and flying planes, instead of all that, you're in an office environment or a studio working space environment. And imagine you have a character, an avatar, your character that can occupy this space. There'd be two key features of this physical space, and every morning you'd log on and you would imagine on your desk at home, you would have your own, this is in the real world, you'd have your laptop, your computer, you'd have probably another screen for even more space, and then you'd have another screen that you would log on to that would be the virtual world. Let's call it Digi World, for argument's sake. It could be called Real World or Fake World or Other World or New World but it's basically something that we all log into. And by the way, it would need to be free so that everybody could get on board, like Facebook. Facebook succeeded because it was free, everybody got into it, and then once everybody was on board, then Facebook figured out ways of monetizing it. Initially, you'd need to build this world for free and let everybody come and play, everybody come and join in, and create a basic space where where it's free for companies to kind of occupy the offices even. Imagine that. Imagine the cost saving of not having a physical office space, but first having a digital office space. There'll be ways later on to monetize this, but first you need to create a place where everybody can get involved. You would have headphones, so at your desk you would have one device that would log on to your DigiWorld account, and you'd be there in the world. And it would look like you've got a video game going on in the corner. But it could be on a tablet, it could be on a gaming console, it could be on another laptop, it could be on your phone, it could be on a headset, as virtual reality and augmented reality headsets become lighter and cheaper, it would like Minecraft, you can play it on pretty much any platform. This virtual world would have to be available for any platform. But there's two key features that you would have for version 1.0. The first is that, and by the way, I suppose three. One is that you can see each other and you can see who everybody is, and you would have to have the volume linked to proximity, so that when people are chatting into their headsets, you can actually hear them hear them louder and louder as you physically get closer, and as you move further away, they get quieter. You can override that and turn up the volume on people on the other side of the office, sure, and you can turn your own volume down when you need to concentrate, absolutely. You can even have little office spaces with glass that you can switch it to opaque if you don't want to be disturbed, or completely wall it off if you really need to not be disturbed. There are all kinds of things that you could do in this to allow greater degrees of interactivity with your teammates and more privacy, so that you can concentrate on something. But that can be fluid, that can be coded. And you'd leave that switched on all day. You'd have your headphones on. By and large, you'd have whole periods where you'd be kind of hanging around with others and you'd be doing your work and you'd kind of be picking up on other conversations. Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't, but the option would be there to do it. And you'd be able to kind of, in your peripheral vision, see who your colleagues are and see who's in that day. So you'd feel like you were somehow part of it. The other key feature of this is that we would all have, you'd need to program each avatar, each character to have a pop-up screen that would sit right next to them. So that if you want to share something that's on your desktop, so when you physically, in your character, by the way, you'd go sit back down at your desk, and when your character is sitting at the desk at the laptop, that's you sitting at your laptop as well. And you don't need to let everybody see what's on your laptop, but you could screen share. So these pop-up screen would mean you could share what's on your computer and show somebody what's on your computer, and you can make it bigger or smaller. But it would feel organic, you'd take this thing and stretch it bigger or smaller. You would also have the freedom to show videos, to show social media content, to just anything that's will go on a screen. You would have it on this pop-up little screen. So those key features would be in version 1.0, and then you would make the code open source so that productivity tools companies like Monday.com and Trello and all the long list of business productivity tools, they could plug in and build plugins for this world. Social media plugins galore. And the whole gaming environment would be one that would feel more like a video game. By the way, if you have kids who play Minecraft, or if you're a Minecraft player, they are really good at team working online. If you listen to what's going on, these kids are collaborating, they are sharing, they are resolving concerns, they're resolving conflicts, they are negotiating, they are solving problems together, they are working together to build things, to find things, to do things, to accomplish tasks, to achieve goals. Honestly, you pay attention to what's going on in Minecraft, just for example, and there's an awful lot of team collaboration that goes on in there. They may be just building things of their own accord, but take that environment and create the tools that would allow people to work on other real-world problems together, and you have something that will make home working much more viable. So listen, I'm going to wrap up there because there's a whole bunch of other things, and by the way, there is a huge gain for the entertainment industry, which is really suffering right now for the lack of live studio audiences. There is the possibility to create concert venues, TV studios, auditoriums, churches, universities, schools, classroom spaces, anywhere where you would normally gather a crowd together. There's a lot of scope here to have these kind of shrinking and growing, these different size spaces where you can physically go pay for a ticket, get inside and listen to a live presentation with a live presenter. But the thing that would be really, really great would be that if you still have your audio switched on, and that would be part of the deal, you can still hear the people next to you laughing. If it's a show, cheering, you'd get the feel that you are sat with lots of people. You'd physically be able to see them on the screen, but you'd also get to kind of hear what's going on. And Graham Norton presenting from home would suddenly be a lot more exciting when there is the sound of a real audience tuned in at that moment, also sitting in allocated seats, kind of cheering things along. And you have the possibility there, even during lockdown, of bringing an audience participation and the feeling of enjoying something with an audience. You can start to bring that into the home. Same with sports, particularly esports. This is a big time for people who are fans of esports. In South Korea, I know they actually have these esports going on in auditoriums. There's a whole new world that we are on the precipice of. And this lockdown may just be the trigger that will initiate the move into the next big thing. And I'd love to be a part of this, by the way. If you are watching this and you've watched this far, thank you very much. If you know somebody who works for a gaming company, or perhaps you own a gaming company, please forward this video onto them. I just want somebody to build this. I'd love to be involved in the development, of course, but I just want somebody to do it because I want to have this product. I want to be a part of it. I want this to be something that I can use as part of team working. Imagine if it didn't matter where you lived and you could still go from job to job to job as you go through your career, and you can go from one employer to another, joining one team or another, and be in a virtual office with them without having to leave your home in wherever it turns out to be. And you could move somewhere with cheaper housing and still not have to worry about missing out on job opportunities because your office is digital. I tell you, once we get going down this road, I think it'll be like lifting a lid on Pandora's box. Like Ready Player One, that was a great movie, and it was all about people living in a virtual gaming world. Well, imagine the world not being just about gaming. Imagine if the world was actually about collaborating and team working. That's what I'm talking about. Anyway, thanks for listening this far. Tune in for the next one. There's a whole bunch of other things in my head that I want to get out. So this is the first of Haydn's Big Ideas. Tune in for the next of Haydn's Big Ideas. And thanks very much for watching. Cheers.